Welcome to Drinking with Authors. I am your host, Erica Lance. My co-host today is the fire-haired Bo Lake. And our guest today is Tyler Brooke. Welcome, Tyler.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's talk about what we're drinking, and then we can dive into it. So I was going to make a screwdriver, and then I discovered that I didn't have enough orange juice, so I poured pineapple into it. So I don't know what it is when you make an orange and pineapple and vodka, but that's what this is in this cup. So that's very exciting. I'm very proud of that. Okay, Bo, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a very fancy chai tea from my favorite local coffee shop.
Oh, I do love a chai tea. Okay. Tyler, what are you drinking?
I got out of work recently and I didn't really have the energy to make myself a drink, so I went with an Angry Orchard.
Ooh,
which, funny enough, I do find it funny that we're recording this on National Book Day.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even realize that's how crazy busy I've been. Yes. Okay. So Tyler, for the audience that may not know you, what do you write?
I haven't written anything in a while in terms of books, but what we're discussing today is my children's book, Peter and the Cold Christmas. I have been thinking about going back into that genre. It's something I've put off for several years, and I think now would be a good time to go back to it.
Very cool. Very cool. So when did you start writing?
I've always enjoyed writing. There's a lot. There are several things I actually do to express myself creatively. I'm actually looking into voice acting, and I'm currently writing a audio series about the X-Men.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
But in terms of books, I would like to focus on children's books that help children with ASD and other neurodiverse problems, because I feel like I can relate to that.
Very cool. That's always great, especially because it allows them to find books that speak to them. So when did your writing thing begin? You said always, but when did you put your first book out?
Well, like I said, I've always enjoyed doing it, but this book officially came out about 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh, okay. How did you publish it?
I've tried using several well-known publishers, and eventually I had to go self-publishing, and I went with Inkwater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to tell you it was a long and vigorous journey, but the short answer is I eventually had to go the self-publishing route because no major company was really that interested in it.
No, and it takes a lot of times for people to be to get published, and get in front of publishers and stuff like that. So what is the story about?
The story is about a poor Russian boy who intentionally misbehaves all year round just so he can get coal to keep his family warm during the winter months.
Oh, wow. That is a great premise.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what gave you the idea for this book?
Originally, it was kind of a what if concept. Like, what if somebody intended to be bad just so they can get coal? But as I was writing this, I kind of saw myself in Peter because the actions he was doing may not always be interpreted by the same way the people who are viewing him, due to the lack of communication skills most children with ASD possess.
No, that totally makes sense. Bo?
So why Christmas? What drew you to that holiday in particular for your story?
Well, like I said, the idea started itself as a what if concept. What if somebody intentionally misbehaved just to get coal for Santa? I mean, I don't think any kid would actively wish for coal. Like, how would that work? Like, can you wish for coal? But what if you're good and your wish list has coal on it? So if you're naughty, what would you get instead? So that would probably break the system.
How dare you? You're not getting coal. You're getting toys, buddy.
Exactly.
That's the evil Santa is forcing toys on people.
That's some bizarro logic there.
That's what Krampus is doing. He's like,
That's-
take this toy.
Take the old Krampus legend away, and that's it. You're getting this baseball bat and a ball, and you're going to go play. Can you imagine a world that's like that? That would be weird. Okay, so then where do you want to take this? You said you wanted to write more books. Are you working on anything right now?
I am. I don't want to give too much away. My next book is about a hyena and knowing the right time to do things. Because as somebody that grew up with ASD, social skills weren't exactly my forte.
Very cool. So when you say children's books, are they picture books? Are they middle grade? What size are these books?
I would say like pre-K to K, around there. Maybe some second graders could definitely be into it. I read the book to my niece, at least when I can get her to sit down. She's currently 4 years old at the time of this recording.
Yeah, no, that definitely it's a bit of effort to get the toddlers to sit down. Okay, so what about when are you looking to publish that book? Do you have a title yet?
I do. It's called Regina the Laughing Hyena. She's got to add some twerks to it and a good illustrator, and then that ship's ready to sail.
How did you find an illustrator for the first book?
My folks knew a guy, and I'm trying to decide if I want to keep with the same illustrator or if I want to do the same guy that did my logo for my podcast, Geek Talk with Tyler. Quick shout out to my buddy Rick Mann of Rick Mann Art.
Very
and
cool.
He's also done several books of his own, including the somewhat known comic Sock.
Oh, very cool. So what made you start a podcast?
It's a long story, but in short, the Wegmans company and I really didn't see eye to eye. I was terminated. And while I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I thought being a podcaster would be a good way to go because everybody's doing it. I do enjoy talking about things like Marvel and DC and anime. Why not capitalize off it? And I still do it, but it's really more for a hobby than it is for any financial gain at this point.
Would you like to ever write a comic book?
The thought has crossed my mind, but I'd rather be the writer than the illustrator because all the illustration would really cramp your hand after a while.
Who's your favorite Marvel superhero?
Marvel hero? That's a trick question.
The trick question, Bo. Why are you asking trick questions?
I love to ask the hard questions.
All right. So if we're going Avengers, I'm going to say Thor.
Why?
Well, for starters, he's basically a Norse god.
Mm-hmm.
He's not only the muscle, but he also brings the special talent, that being his the electrokinetic abilities, and he's worthy enough to lift a hammer. It's kind of like a Norse Excalibur.
Yeah. What about DC?
I've always grown up with DC, so there are a lot of characters, but I always like Batman because he never really relied on gadgets. But the question is,
Batman.
Which Batman are you referring to? Are you going to DCAU Batman? Or are we going to Goofy Adam West Batman? Are we going to the Batman?
That's my favorite Batman. Christian Bale Batman. Yeah. It's my favorite Batman.
Yeah, see, that's where Adam West is better. He never had to say it. Everybody knew who he was.
That's true, but the thing about Batman is they tend to start these stories over and over again in the beginning where they're coming into being. That's one thing I have to say about at least the Ben Affleck Batman is everybody knew about Batman. I mean, he was the vigilante he was in the comics and stuff like that a lot, but he came into being to be when you started, the cops already know who Batman, people knew who Batman was, right?
Same with Adam West too.
DC just needs to lay off Batman for like a decade or so.
Yeah, I think they're going to. I think they're going to.
I don't.
It looks like it looks like they're dumping a. Well, I know they're doing another Superman, but I haven't heard anything about Batman yet.
Well, they're making
I
another.
kind of hope they
Justice
don't.
League.
Oh God.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many characters
so
they
bad.
could work off of.
I mean, they did Blue Beetle, and I don't know if anyone even knows Blue Beetle's coming out.
I saw that, and the premise looks interesting. But if movies were cheaper, I bet a lot of people would go more.
Well,
Yeah.
I think COVID changed that a lot. And I'm one of those people, like I got asked today, and this is going to air in December. So sorry, we're talking about stuff that as we record, but somebody asked me if I was going to see the Barbie movie in theaters. And I was like, I will wait for it to be in the comfort of my home, not because it's a bad movie or anything, but now I'm so used to being able to pause things, get up and go get a snack, go to the bathroom. You can't do the same thing in movies anymore. So, in movie theaters, I would love them to. Can you guys all is everybody okay? Well, let's take a bathroom break. Can we just do that right now? That would be fantastic. Like a set bathroom break through movies. Like
an old intermission.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have an app. I don't know if the app is still operational. Right. They used to have an app where it would tell you sort of the low parts of a movie, like stuff where you won't really miss it. Maybe it's just dialogue or something like that. So you can get up and go to the bathroom and it'll tell you what's happening while you're gone if you leave at that point in time in the movie. Which
funny enough, you mentioned the Barbie movie, which came around the same time as Oppenheimer. I think was the second time in history, two major competitive movies where we got this really girly film and this hardcore dude-esque film.
Yeah.
They're airing around the same time. Funny enough, the other one was The Dark Knight and Mamma Mia. Now we have Barbenheimer, but back then it was the Mama Night.
Mama Night. I like it. That's hysterical. So, Tyler, do you read a lot?
I do. I am actually reading I forget the exact title, but it's Rob Paulson's the way he dealt with his throat cancer and his methods in voice acting.
Oh, got it. Very cool. So what started you on this voice acting kick?
I've been fascinated by it. I don't know if you know this, but you can definitely get away with a lot more with animation than you can get away with live action, which is why I'm against these live action Disney films. It doesn't matter if it's Little Mermaid, doesn't matter if it's Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, really doesn't matter. It just doesn't really spark any form of joy to it.
Really?
It's like, yeah, it already did well when it was animated. I don't know, honestly, other than money, I don't know why they need to exist.
I think it's because people have fallen in love with those characters and stuff like that. It's, it's kind of why they end up doing sequels to things. And like, if you look up almost any Disney property, there's like a little kids version out for the little kid version of Rapunzel and her land of,
yeah. Have you seen the German fairy tales?
Oh, of course I have.
Scary, yeah.
Yeah, Cinderella's sisters literally cut off their own feet just to fit into the glass slipper. But riddle me this. If the glass slipper fits in exactly Cinderella's feet, how did it fall off to begin with?
Oh, she got sweaty from dancing.
You don't get sweaty feet when you dance, because I sure do.
I get super sweaty feet, and it's glass. It's going to slide right off.
And follow up, when the slipper have returned back to what it originally was at the stroke of midnight?
No, because magic.
You can't. Yeah, it's kind of like
you can't logic it. It's
you can't logic.
No
it
logic.
All.
It's just magic.
And as Tony Stark says, science that is yet to be explained.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That is very, very true. Okay, Bo, one more question before the break, my friend.
Why children's books?
Well, I feel like children are really our future, and we know that intellectually,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think we know that emotionally. So if we really don't set a good example for the next generation, then we're just gonna not really be good people moving forward. I really do believe we should have books that teach good and valuable lessons. Like, don't always judge on surface values, like Peter and the Cold Christmas is doing. Try to get to know somebody before you judge them. Maybe there's a method to their madness.
No, totally. No, that's very, very, very true. I like it. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Drinking with Authors. Hey, listeners. You know me, Eric Lance. You're just listening to me in the podcast that you have. But guess what? I'm doing something new.
Yeah, she's joining me, Mark Muncy, the author of the Erie, Florida book series in Erie, Appalachia, and we are hosting a new podcast called Erie Travels.
Woo-woo! Erie Travels, which covers things like ghosts, cryptids, weird stuff, UFOs, men in black, all kinds of fun things that people talk about, and I'm sure you've discussed with friends.
Yep, and you can listen to us on your favorite podcast platform of choice, or find us at erietravels.com and join in the fun and all the spooky goodness.
And of course, Mark, what do we always say?
We'll see you on the other side.
Okay, we are back. We are back, and let's do a little rapid fire questions, Bo. What do you think?
Those are my favorite. Let's go.
Okay, Tyler, what is your favorite book of all time?
Do trilogies count? Because I really do love Lord of the Rings.
Very cool. Why?
Well, I did a live show a while back with Mark Mancini, part of Mancini Media. The Lord of the Rings really did serve as the pioneer of all modern fantasy. Whether you're a fan of Game of Thrones, Narnia, Harry Potter, even though that whole Twitter debacle, regardless of what fantasy genre you follow, Lord of the Rings really did set the way of all modern fantasy.
Very cool. What about your least favorite book of all time?
I've never really given a thought to a least favorite book, honestly. I mean, there are times where I thought Harry Potter was overhyped, but I think that's because the whole magic school concept, like, is it really magic if you're explaining how it's done?
Some people want to know.
I mean, that's kind of like a kosher pork chop. It's like, is it really kosher if it's a pork chop? That just doesn't make sense. It's an oxymoron.
Well, yes. Okay. Well, that's a whole long
magic. It's magic. We can't explain it. It's magic.
But they're doing it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, what about your favorite book to movie or TV show? Like where you think they did a really good job?
They also did a good job with Lord of the Rings, even if they missed the top with Tom Bombadil. But for all you anime fans out there, if they did have a filler part, that would be it. Because it's like, yeah, he was there, but he really didn't really contribute anything to the overall story. So I guess they skipped him.
Yeah, no, they did. They did. I mean, here's the thing. When you translate anything, especially those books, because those books are huge, into a movie, you also sometimes have to condense characters because there's a lot more exposition you can do in a book than you can do in a movie. So
absolutely.
A lot of people were not happy about Tom Bombadil not being in it, but I get why they chose to not include that.
Yeah, it probably would have slowed the plot down, and audiences aren't great with that.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you're like stepping on the brake a little.
Exactly.
I mean, he only had a chapter appearance, but still.
And it was the slowest chapter of the whole book.
I mean, the movies themselves won 70 Academy Awards. So, okay, yeah, I guess we're not that upset about it.
What'd you think about the Hobbit movies?
Are we talking the original Rankin Bass, or are we talking the
No, we're
Peter
talking
Jackson?
the new ones, the Peter Jackson ones.
Honestly, I felt like if we get rid of the elf dwarf romance, the Lake Town politics, and the obligatory Orlando Bloom cameo, we could have easily had ourselves a two-parter.
Yeah.
Because they also included the unfinished tales as part, as well as all the Hobbit itself. So it wasn't just the Hobbit.
It could have been an hour and a half movie. It didn't need to be 3 of them. That's a lot of movie.
Money.
Money. Capitalism rules everything.
It does. And, Peter Jackson likes to make big, epic, long things. So, what about your least favorite book to movie adaptation where you felt like they didn't do the book justice by doing it?
The book justice, or pretty much anything justice, because there are a lot of things. I mean, pretty much a lot of the Dr. Seuss movies, they really didn't do justice. Like the Jim Carrey one, it's like the only thing they really got. It's like, let's make an entire movie from a few-page book. Like if my book, for example, I would prefer it be like the original Grinch cartoon than a fully fleshed movie.
Okay.
Because that's all it really needs to be. Otherwise, you're just adding minutia characters just for the sake of capitalism.
That makes sense.
I liked the Lorax, though. It was cute.
Yeah, Danny DeVito was a good, short, hairy character.
he played 2 strengths.
I was going to say, isn't that normally what he's?
Yeah.
If it's not in Hercules, it's him and Sonny.
Yeah.
It's true. Okay, what about if you could travel to any world, literary world, where would you want to go and why?
That's a very good question. Does that include manga? Because I would kind of like to see how the One Piece world works.
Very cool. Very cool.
So many, following that series for over 20 years, and there are so many questions I would still like to have answered.
If you could pick anybody, if you could be the hero of any story, which would you be? But you have to live their life. Like
to the end of my life?
Yeah, if you become that character, if you could be that, jump in and be a character, who would you be? But you have to go through.
Well, I just want to make sure I'm getting this correctly. Like, say I pick somebody from Game of Thrones. Do I have to live to the end of their life, or do I have to live a long natural life?
When they die, you die. It's the end.
Okay. Honestly, I want to be Bilbo from The Hobbit. It sounds like he had a long natural life. Mm-hmm. He had his adventure, took care of his nephew for a while, and he kind of had a little rite of passage thing.
Very cool. Okay. Who would be your sidekick then? And they can be from any other universe.
I feel like it would be Spock, just to have a nice level-headed character.
Ooh, that's a good answer. I do enjoy me some Spock.
It's only logical.
Very good.
Yeah.
Bo?
If you could be any mythical creature, what could you be?
Probably a Raiju from Japanese mythology, so that way I could be a literal Thundercat.
That's very cool. Very cool. What about if you could travel anywhere, where would you want to travel?
I honestly don't have respect for time travel because it gets way too complicated. The whole step on a branch and then next thing you know, the earth is ruled by apes or something. But hypothetically speaking, it would be nice to see like the 70s. It's like there's just enough technology.
But where? No, you could travel anywhere in the world.
Instantly. Oh, anywhere. I thought you said anywhere. Oh, I thought you said time travel.
No, time travel is probably a bad idea.
Oh, okay. Anyway, well, I am going to New Orleans, and that was one of my places.
Okay.
So I would like to say San Diego Comic-Con, but the other few places I'd like to travel would be New Orleans to see where they filmed The Lord of the Rings. And I would also say Japan because I am a fan of manga and anime.
Very cool. What's your favorite manga?
One Piece. I've been following that for over 20 years.
Wow. What about your favorite anime?
Also One Piece, following that for over 20 years.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, back when 4Kids was dubbing it, and freaking rice balls were jelly donuts, and Sanji was smoking lollipops, and they couldn't have guns because it was for kids.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. Bo.
If you were on a desert island, what book would you take with you?
Life of Pi, because I want to see how he dealt with it.
That's a good book.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and a very successful adaptation.
Yeah.
Very cool. What is a favorite weird food combination that you like to eat that maybe people go, gosh, that's really weird?
Honestly, this is a really interesting sauce. How familiar are y'all with Cajun food?
Pretty familiar.
I pretty much use remoulade sauce for everything.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. What about your favorite ice cream flavor?
Like if I'm going to go to an ice cream truck, or just like if I'm going to go to the freezer section of a ShopRite or something.
You tell me.
All right, because if I'm going to a freezer section of ShopRite, I'm going to give me that Snickers ice cream. But if I'm going to an ice cream truck, I'm going to give me a creamsicle.
Oh, I like it. I like both.
Who's your favorite author of all time?
Living or dead?
Doesn't matter.
Dead would be Tolkien. Living would be Ichiro Oda.
What's your least favorite author?
The guy that did Game of Thrones. I feel like there's way too much sex and death. It's like, okay, you're trying to be the weird love child of Lord of the Rings and Shakespeare, but why?
Yeah, no, I could see that. Do you cosplay?
I do.
What's your favorite cosplay?
Cosplays, and I would like to cosplay, or cosplay that
you've done. What is your favorite one that you've done?
Queen from One Piece, because I'm trying to go for more body positive cosplayers. And I don't know if you've been to a convention, but they can get very hot, and his outfit breathes very nicely.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I do cosplay. I understand completely.
Ooh, who you cosplay as?
I've done quite a few. So I've done Lestat from Interview with the Vampire, and I've done Winifred from oh my goodness, I just lost
Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus. I've done the Queen.
Remind me, is that the red-haired one?
Yep. I've done the Queen of Hearts. I've done the Withered Lover from 13 Ghosts. I've done the Tooth Fairy, very demonic. I've cosplayed tremendous amount. That closet right there is full of cosplay costumes behind me.
Nice.
Below that, you open it and it's like the closet from 27 Dresses, where everything just comes flying out.
Flies out.
Yeah. So, when you're writing, most of us, like our editors, go, hey, you need to stop doing this. What do you find that is one of your hardest things while you're writing?
What do you mean by my hardest things?
As a writer, what do you have difficulty with?
Staying on track a lot of the times. That's my biggest fear, because like there's a Big Bang episode I saw out recently where they were trying to come up with an idea, but then they got off onto a tangent. You remember that episode?
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest problem.
And especially when you're writing a children's book, you have to be succinct because you don't have that many pages to work with.
Exactly.
Or that many words. You're not allowed to use that many words.
Yeah.
Do you find it difficult to keep your vocabulary where it needs to be for a children's book?
If I didn't have my niece, no. But now that I do, yes, it's easier to have someone her age to speak to.
Very cool. Very
Is your little test subject for your book?
I don't like to think of her that way, but I'm not going to say no to that answer either.
I like it. Okay. So what's coming after the hyena, Regina the Hyena book?
I haven't given any much thought to that. I guess I would have to give thought to some of the issues I've had growing up, whether it's just communication itself or trying to adult as somebody with ASD, or I guess just trying to make friends and having all these social disorders.
I think a lot of kids can relate to like having difficulty making friends, especially if they have to like go to a new school or joining a new class. Or I think that's a universal thing, which is nice so that you can reach a bigger audience.
Right. Like I personally believe that a lot of the best stories are told with non-human characters. Like Animal Farm would be a great example of that. I mean, I hate that I'm bringing an allegoric communist book into this, but it has tested the stand of time through it.
If you could do an animal that's not a hyena, what animal would be in your next book?
Like I said, it would have to be allegoric. So I guess it would really have to be something that has difficulty being a social creature. Like, I don't know, maybe a tiger, because tigers are typically solitary animals. It's like a tiger that winds up in a in a captivity program, and he winds up with a whole bunch of lions, but he doesn't know how to make friends with them.
That's a great story. I think that's a great story. Okay, final question before the end, and then you're gonna be able to shamelessly promote yourself.
For sure.
What is your favorite genre to read when it comes to novels?
When it comes to novels, I would say comedy, but the problem I find with comedy is that it's such a vague genre. Like, I personally enjoy South Park because it has no problem tackling everything, but I know a lot of people that don't think South Park is funny. They just think it's offensive. But I've always enjoyed fantasy and adventure.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Tyler, it was wonderful having you on the show today.
It was nice being here.
Very cool. Okay, shameless self-promotion. Where can people find you on social media and your shows and your books?
Well, I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. Unfortunately, my book was pulled for not doing so well, but if you would like a copy, I feel free to reach out to me through my social media pages. I am also on LinkedIn. My podcast is Geek Talk with Tyler. If you would like to hear the audio version of my book, which I read with Ken Weisselman, who you may recognize his works of Thomas the Tank Engine and the Teletubbies, as well as my other reoccurring associate, Marlene Sharp. We read that book in our very first Christmas episode. I also have a Facebook account called The Sandwich Soul. Many of my episodes are there. And stay tuned for our upcoming series, The Undateable X-Men, where all the X-Men, right, like Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Colossus, etc., are portrayed in a more geeky manner. But until then, stay tuned from your friendly neighborhood Tyler Man.
Awesome, Tyler. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, everyone, this has been Drinking with Authors. Do not forget to like, subscribe, review, leave comments. We'd love to hear what you think. I've been your host, Erica Lance. My co-host has been the amazing Bo Lake. Our guest has been Tyler Brooke, and we will see you next time.